welcome back to I Studio. I'm Diane Williams, and today I want to talk about rescuing paintings that have either failed or you feel stuck. It happens all the time. I was teaching a little mixed media class, and I just was working on these 3 small panels in class for several weeks. And honestly, I don't think they were ever going anywhere. And on the last day of class, we had a critique, as we usually do, and everyone wanted me to put my paintings up, so I did. And I talked about how stuck I felt. And one of the students grabbed a big stencil, about this big, of a letter H, and she just put it right on top of the panel. And it just was like an epiphany to me. It was like, I can change this. And we all know that, but sometimes it takes someone showing you something before it really resonates with you. So I decided it would be a fun week to try some different options that can change these panels that are not precious. They all have some really good paint, but it's not good enough to capture my attention. So let's see where we can take these. The class was an interesting class because we all bring in collage material and put it on a central table, and then we can go through the table and grab some collage material. So I grabbed a stash off the table, and I have several boxes like this around the studio of what I call personal collage or personal mixed media scraps. They feel very much like me, and that's how I choose my scraps, and I get real attached to them. So I've set out a number of scraps, and I've also set out some stencils. I have some drawing material, art graph, and Stabilo pencil. I usually have some deli paper on hand when I'm collaging because it makes a beautiful transparency. So let's get started and see if we can transform these 3. So to get started, I have a piece of deli paper that I had made a jelly print. I don't know what I used for the jelly print. It was obviously some organic material, most likely corn husks or corn silk. And I thought this could be interesting. And then I further made it interesting by cutting a couple holes in it. Now, I'm going to cover the whole thing. This should turn transparent, and the holes will let the original painting underneath show through. Let's see what we can get. And the way that I do it is with matte medium, or you can use matte medium or gloss medium works. This has kind of a too glossy finish for me at the moment, so I'm going to try some matte. And the way that I do it, which is by no means the only way, is I'll go ahead and cover the whole area that I'm going to collage with the medium. I want to be sure I've got an adequate coat, but I don't want it to be too slurpy. So let's give it a go. Then I lay the collage material on top of the medium. I'm going to take my rubber scraper and I'm going to try to kind of get the bubbles out. This kind of paper can wrinkle quite viciously, and normally I really don't mind, because a lot of times I'll be painting over it and then sanding it to get some pretty interesting effects. So I'm going to manipulate it a little bit with my fingers to try to get some of those wrinkles out. You know, we're always moving towards finishing the painting. And I think it's a good thing to remember that a lot of the wonder and the beauty of art is in the process. So don't try to move in on the kill, so to speak, too quickly. So what I've done is I've kind of unified the painting with a piece of deli paper that went over the whole thing. In order to get maybe a little bit more transparency, I'm going to put a little bit more of the medium on top and use my scraper to scrape it in. Scrape it across, I should say. I'm not really scraping it into anything, just scraping it across. Now this excess that hangs off the edge, I might try to rip it off, or I could wait until it dries and just sand it off. Sometimes it sort of clouds my judgment a little bit. Well, maybe I want a little bit of that book to show. Let's get a little bit of a, oh, that looks much better. A little bit of a ripped edge there. I love that. Maybe I'll try the same on the top to expose a little bit of the painting underneath. Okay. That's pretty interesting, I think, so far. Now, what I want to do is get a little art graph. Art graph is like charcoal on steroids. It's also water soluble. It can make a very dark mark. So what I'm now seeing is sort of a tree. There's some black up here, and I'm going to use my art graph to enhance the black that's up here. I like it. And then I'm going to kind of follow this line down and, you know, make it a little bit more tree-like. This stuff smears really beautifully too, see? And if I feel I've smeared it too much, I can go back and wipe it. But I like the smeared look. It's not so much like, oh, she used an art graph. Finding this stem shape to be very straight, and I'd like a little bit, either to take some of it off or, whoops, look at this. It's ripping off a little more and I like it. Yeah, exposing a little bit more of the picture underneath looks really good. So I could either put a curve into this or I can just take part of it off. I'm referring to that kind of straight stem looking thing. Let me turn it, see what I can see in this direction. It's pretty interesting so far. Now, I have cut out some shapes, and because I still have a lot of medium on it, let's put some of these shapes on. Because it really is reminding me of leaves. Let's play into that a little bit. 3, that should be fine. Put a little bit more of the medium on top. And I may try outlining with the art graph. Getting a little interesting. I like this area that's exposed up here. I thought I'd expose a little more, but suddenly I'm not crazy about that. I never did like that one yellow piece there, so let's put that back. Maybe put it like that a little bit, exposing that. I could go very graphic and collage a piece of this is origami paper on, and then later I could paint into it a little bit. Actually, that looks pretty nice. I also thought maybe it just needed a cooler color introduced. We have another option, and that is to put a border on of a cooler color. And that kind of adds a decorative element that I sort of like. Sort of becomes almost like a book binding, and I think I will add that on. There might be enough medium. Oh, wait, I love those beautiful leaves. Am I covering up the edge of the leaves? Let's scoot it in a little bit so this and that vertical line can kind of echo each other a bit. Or should I move it to this side? And that works well too, I think. Do you prefer that? Now, I may decide that this isn't working, and I can always, while it's wet, I can remove it. I saw something interesting over here, and that was this, and I thought this might look good in this composition. Question is where. I don't think that's it. I start to see so much in it at this point. I'm looking at this up here, which sort of reminds me of a rose. I do like the leaves. I'm not 100% sure about the collage paper on top, but I'll go with it for a minute. I took a little piece of my origami paper and cut it out, and I'm going to attach it in the corner down here. Allowing some of the art graph to smear so it doesn't look quite as pristine. The next thing I thought is I cut out a little picture from a vintage magazine, and I want to put that down since I'm getting these very graphic lotus flowers from the origami paper. Let's really get graphic here. The Mockingbird book. I've kept this little scrap of paper for a while. I've always liked it. changes the language of the piece. These graphic elements just change the language. Now, this is a piece of a jelly print that I cut out. I love the floral look. It was probably a flower. Let's go ahead and attach this on. I like this one a little more upright. Perfect. And so it goes, layer after layer after layer, until you get what you're looking for. Did we ever figure if this could go on here? Oh yeah, I sort of like that because it makes a circle with that flower. So let's cut it here and attach it up there. We've really, really changed this up, haven't we? Some with handmade collage paper and some with magazine and origami paper. Okay, it's important that this circle be continued with this flower, I think, right here. I like that. Get a little bit more medium. So now I'm looking at this circle here, this circle here, which is pretty interesting. It's sort of creating a bit of a theme. Do we want to put some circles? Let's get some dots on it. Since we've got that little circle theme going, let's put some dots. So much for my dot. Looks all wonky. That's okay. I don't think one is enough. I love stencils, and I'm very sloppy with stencils, and that's just fine. Let's get a little bit of a smaller shape up there. Sometimes I like things kind of cascading down, like a whole bunch of dots. Let's see. So now we've got some dots in there, and it just keeps getting more and more and more dimension to it. So it's not as flat as it was when we started. Little shading with the art graph. So it just keeps getting more and more exciting. I'm getting myself in deeper and deeper. And I may come back tomorrow and just hate it. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm going to take a little paint and I'm going to put a stencil, a flower stencil. This is a big chrysanthemum. I'm going to just put the edge over the edge of this flower. Let me find my flower again. I've kind of lost her. Here she is. I think I'm going the wrong, am I? No, I'm going right. Okay. I always have to wonder if you're doing the right color. At first I thought, let's do a bright red. And then I said, no, how about a muted pinkish white? Interesting, but it didn't really go in the area I thought it was going in. And never really solved that problem down there. Maybe I'll tackle it a different way. This is a good way of blocking off and quieting down the painting. One thing leads to another, and pretty soon you're covering up your work. But I thought it was too noisy. And I like the circle, but I'm wondering if the circle is too much. I'm referring to this circle down here. Let's go over there. Nothing sacred. You can just do whatever you want. Now I'm blocking off to add a lot more quiet space. And it is somewhat interesting. When I start doing this, I want to just keep going and going. And I'm creating shapes with the paint. So I want to be sure I like the shapes I'm creating. It's pretty interesting. I'm obscuring my mockingbird a little bit. And then sometimes, if I want to reveal what I put underneath, I can scrape it back off and really get kind of an aged look that I like. I just got another idea. This is Golden So Flat Black. I love this paint. And I wanted to get rid of this yellow down here by the bird feet that has the author's name on it. I didn't think that was really necessary in this composition. The thing about small paintings is they take just as long as the big ones. So my thinking is might as well do the big ones. It's very busy, and that's okay. We're always trying to quiet down busyness, but sometimes I don't think it's necessary. Sometimes we can let it be busy. It feels poppy-like now since I've isolated those flowers. Probably the next thing I'll do is I'll let it dry and I'll give it a good sanding and see, how some of the wrinkles come out. See if I can age the surface a little bit, which I'm sure it will. I see some areas that I particularly like this here. And what may happen in the long run is I may really wind up quieting the whole thing down so it all becomes about this area here. It's paint. It's not precious. You can do anything you want, but give it some time to marinate, sink in. You don't have to make every decision all at once. So that's about it. I'm at a stopping place. Who knows where it's going to go from here? So it's always interesting to find out. Sometimes with these little scrap pieces, I never finish them. I put them aside, and then someone comes along and is leafing through my box of ephemera, paintings, whatever. They'll just love it, and off it'll go to a new home. Who knows? I may put some work into it. There is definitely some interesting passages here. Okay? So it's a good day to be in the studio. Every day is a good day to be in the studio. Painting is a practice. It takes a long time. Practice makes perfect. Go to your studio, have a great time. And I appreciate your comments. I've been getting a lot of them. It's so helpful to know people are out there watching the videos and appreciating them. And I appreciate you. Take care.